Welcome to Lento English. Ready to level up your English? Here we learn through stories, slow, clear, and fun. Listen, relax, and enjoy the journey.
1. Introduction. The situation is difficult. Iran says it will not talk about its nuclear program. This is a strong decision. Iran says this because there is fighting. There is conflict between Iran and Israel. The fighting is happening now. Israel is attacking Iran. Many countries and international groups are watching. They are worried. They want the fighting to stop. They ask both sides to be calm. They say, please stop fighting. They want things to become less dangerous. De-escalation means making a situation less dangerous. This situation is very serious. It has high stakes. High stakes means the possible results are very important and can be very bad. The world is concerned about what might happen. This conflict is not small. It can grow bigger. Iran's nuclear program is a big topic. Many countries do not want Iran to have nuclear weapons. Iran says its nuclear program is for peaceful things, but other countries do not believe this. Israel is especially worried about Iran's nuclear program. Israel sees it as a big threat. Because of this worry, Israel is taking action. Israel is attacking sites in Iran. These sites are related to the military. Some sites are related to missiles. Some sites are related to the nuclear program, Israel says. Iran is not happy about these attacks. Iran says it has a right to defend itself. Iran says it will fight back. This is why the conflict is happening now. Israel attacks and Iran attacks back. In the middle of this, talks about the nuclear program stopped. Iran says we will not talk about nuclear things while Israel is attacking us. This makes the situation more complicated. It is hard to talk about peace or the future when fighting is happening. International diplomats are trying to help. They meet with people from Iran. They ask Iran to talk again. They want Iran to talk with the United States. The United States was part of a nuclear agreement with Iran before, but that agreement is not working well now. Europe is trying to find a way for talks to start again, but Iran says no. Iran's foreign minister says talks cannot happen until Israel stops its attacks. This chapter is the start of the story. It helps us understand the main problems. There is fighting between Iran and Israel. Iran does not want to talk about nuclear things while fighting. The world wants peace. The situation is dangerous. It is a complex situation with many parts. Understanding these parts is important for the story. The conflict involves military actions and important political issues like the nuclear program. The wish for peace from other countries is also a key part. The refusal to talk makes finding a solution difficult. This is the beginning of a difficult time. 2. Fighting starts. The fighting began. Israel's defense minister spoke about the situation. He said everyone should be ready for a long time of conflict. He called it a prolonged campaign. After this, Israel's military started new attacks. These were airstrikes. They used planes to hit different places in Iran. The targets included places where Iran kept missiles. They also hit sites where missiles were launched. The military said they hit many targets. These included places that make missiles and military buildings in western and central Iran. Iran quickly answered these attacks. Iran sent missiles towards Israel. The missiles flew towards the middle part of Israel. People heard loud noises like explosions near Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is a big city in Israel. People could see missiles being stopped in the sky. This is called missile interception. Reports said that parts from the sky, like shrapnel, fell down. This falling material caused damage. One report said a building in central Israel caught fire because of this. Iran also fired missiles at cities in the south and north of Israel. These attacks caused damage too. For example, a building in the north was badly damaged. Another building in the south also had damage. Both sides talked about their actions. Iran's military said they used strong missiles. They said these missiles hit military places. They also hit places that make things for the military and control centers. Israel said its planes hit missile batteries. They wanted to control the sky over Iran. Explosions were heard in some areas of Iran. In the latest attacks from Iran, about 20 missiles were sent. Reports from Israel said at least 2 people were hurt during these attacks. The fighting continued during the night. Both countries described the places they hit and the actions they took in this early part of the conflict. 3. Talking is hard. Diplomats from countries in Europe went to the city of Geneva. They had a meeting there. They met with the foreign minister from Iran. The European diplomats had an important message. They wanted Iran to start talking again. They wanted Iran to talk with the United States. These talks were about Iran's nuclear program. Europe hoped that talking could help stop the fighting. They hoped it could bring peace. But the foreign minister of Iran gave a clear answer. He said Iran would not have any talks, not now. He said talks could not happen while Israel was still attacking Iran. He said the attacks must stop first. Only after the fighting stops, maybe talks can start. Europe hoped this meeting could help. They wanted to find a way. A way to start diplomacy again. A path back to talking instead of fighting. But it was very difficult. Talking is hard when there is fighting. It is hard to sit and discuss things when attacks are happening. Both sides were still fighting hard. Israel was attacking places in Iran. Iran was sending missiles towards Israel. This situation made it very hard for any peace talks to begin. The European diplomats tried to explain. They said that talking was the best way. They said it could stop the violence. But Iran's position was firm. No talks until the Israeli attacks stop. The situation was complex and difficult. Getting Iran and the United States to the same table seemed far away, especially while the conflict was still active. Europe wanted to build a path for diplomacy, a way for people to use words, not weapons, but this path was blocked. It was blocked by the ongoing fighting. The foreign minister of Iran listened carefully. He heard what the European diplomats said, but the sound of the fighting was louder than the wish for talks. So the meeting in Geneva ended. Europe still had hope for peace. But the reality was the fighting continued. This showed how hard it is to talk about peace when there is war. The diplomats knew this was a big challenge. A challenge to bring the two sides to a table to talk. Not a table for war plans, but for peace plans. But the fighting did not stop. So the talks did not start. The European plan was difficult to achieve. It needed both sides to agree. It needed Israel to stop attacking, and it needed Iran to agree to talk. Neither of these things happened yet. The conflict was strong. It was stronger than the wish for talks right now. The meeting showed the main problem clearly. The fighting was the problem. It stopped diplomacy. It made talking impossible for Iran for now. Iran repeated that it would not talk about its nuclear program, not while Israel was attacking. The European countries wanted to help. They wanted to see peace return. They wanted to see talks begin again. But the situation was not simple. The fighting made everything hard. It was hard to make plans for peace. It was hard to find a way forward. The diplomats left Geneva. They hoped for a change soon, a change that would make talking possible, but the fighting was still happening. The sounds of the conflict continued, and as long as the fighting continued, Iran said no to talks. This was the main result of the meeting, a clear refusal for now. A focus on the fighting, not on talking. The European diplomats understood the big challenge. Stopping the fighting was the first step, but how to do that was the big question. The meeting did not answer it. It only showed that talking was hard, very hard, especially during this conflict. The diplomats tried to persuade Iran to think differently. They used calm words to explain the dangers of the conflict continuing. They spoke about the importance of finding a peaceful way to solve problems, but Iran's position did not change. The foreign minister repeated that the attacks must end first. This made the European effort very difficult. They had hoped to open a door for talks, but the door stayed closed because of the fighting. The situation remained very serious. Getting both sides to agree to stop fighting and then talk was the biggest problem. The meeting in Geneva highlighted just how big this problem was. Talking is truly hard when the sounds of war fill the air. 4. America's view. U.S. President Donald Trump spoke about the situation between Israel and Iran. He looked at the fighting that was happening. President Trump said it was a difficult time. He said it was not easy to ask Israel to stop its military attacks right now. He thought Israel was doing well in the fighting so far. When one side feels they are winning, it is harder to ask them to stop. But President Trump said, America was ready to help if possible. America was ready to talk to both sides. He said America had already been speaking with leaders from Iran. President Trump also talked about the efforts of European countries. Countries in Europe were trying to find a way to stop the conflict. They hoped to get a ceasefire. A ceasefire is a time when both sides agree to stop fighting. Europe was trying to bring the countries back to talking. But President Trump did not think that Europe would be successful. He said he doubted they could get a ceasefire agreement. He believed that Iran did not really want to have talks with European countries. He thought Iran wanted to speak directly with America. Europe cannot help very much in this problem, President Trump said. The president also spoke about a very important issue: Iran's nuclear program. America has people who collect and study information about other countries. This is called intelligence. America's National Intelligence Director had recently shared her opinion. She said that American experts believed Iran was not actively working to build a nuclear bomb at this moment. But President Trump had a different idea. He said that his intelligence director was wrong about this. President Trump believed that Iran did have the ability to build a nuclear weapon. People wanted to know if America would become involved in the fighting. Would American soldiers or planes join the conflict? President Trump said he would make a final choice soon. He would decide if America would get involved. He said he planned to make his decision in about 2 weeks from now. He thought this time would be enough to see if the countries involved could start to think more reasonably. While President Trump was speaking, the fighting between Israel and Iran was still happening. Israel continued its military attacks. Iran also kept firing missiles towards Israel. Buildings were damaged. People were injured and killed on both sides. The situation was very dangerous. The whole world was watching. America's opinion and decision were very important. The president's words showed how America saw the problem and what they might do. America was looking closely at the fighting. The president was thinking hard about the best path for America. Would America become part of the conflict? This was a big question. The decision from President Trump was expected in about 2 weeks. Until that time, the fighting did not stop. Europe tried to help by talking, but the U.S. president did not think their talks would work well. He believed that Iran wanted to have discussions only with the United States. The disagreement about Iran's nuclear plans was also very clear from the president's words. The next 2 weeks were going to be very important. Everyone waited to hear President Trump's final decision about America's role. 5. More attacks. The conflict continued with more fighting. Israel's military announced new waves of attacks. They said they hit many sites in Iran. These sites included places where Iran keeps missiles and places where Iran can launch them. Israeli fighter jets also attacked places that hold surface-to-air missiles. These are missiles used to shoot down planes. These attacks happened in different provinces in Iran, including one in the southwest part of the country. After these attacks, there were reports of loud explosions in Iran. News from Iran said that some people were hurt and some people died in these areas. For example, reports from one province said that at least 4 people died there. Another report said that an Israeli strike hit a building in a city. This building had 5 floors. Inside were a bakery and a hairdresser's. At least 5 people were hurt in that attack on the building. Iran also fired missiles at Israel again. Iran sent missiles to the south of Israel, hitting a city there. Iran also sent missiles to the north of Israel, hitting a city near the sea. These missile attacks caused damage in Israel. In the northern city, an old building and a tall building nearby were damaged. The tall building had government offices inside. Both countries gave details about what they hit. Iran said its missile and drone attacks hit military places. They said they hit sites for the army, places that make weapons, and places where the army makes decisions. Israel said it hit dozens of military targets in Iran, including places that make missiles and army buildings in different parts of the country. News reports said that Iran fired about 20 missiles in these recent attacks. In Israel, at least 2 people were hurt because of these Iranian missiles. The attacks showed that the fighting was getting stronger. Both military sites and places where people live and work were hit. People on both sides were sadly getting injured or killed. 6. World worries. The fighting between the 2 countries continued. People in many other parts of the world watched. They felt worried about the danger. The United Nations is a large group of countries that work for peace. Its leaders talked about the problem. There is a special group at the UN that watches nuclear power. The head of this group spoke. He gave a strong warning. He said that nobody should attack places with nuclear material. If bombs hit these places, very dangerous material could spread. This could cause big problems for the country attacked and even for countries far away. It was a serious warning about a new kind of danger. The important countries in the UN had a meeting. It was called the Security Council. At this meeting, countries asked both sides to stop fighting so much. They said everyone must be very careful. They wanted the fighting to stop before it became much worse. The main leader of the UN also spoke. He said the fight between the two countries was very dangerous. He said it could start a fire that nobody could control. He meant that the fighting could grow very big and hurt many more people and countries. He asked everyone to try for peace. Two big and important countries, Russia and China, also spoke. They both said that the fighting must stop immediately. They wanted the countries to stop their attacks and talk instead. Their words showed that the worry was not just in one place but around the world. Many countries were afraid of what could happen next. They worried about more attacks and more people getting hurt. They also worried about the nuclear danger. The world was watching and hoping the fighting would end soon. The international concern was very high because the situation felt very dangerous for everyone. 7. Nuclear plans. An important person from Iran spoke about their nuclear plans. This person said Iran was ready to discuss some limits on making nuclear material. This process is called uranium enrichment, but Iran also said they would not stop completely. They said they would not accept any idea to stop making nuclear material at all. This is called zero enrichment. Iran said no to zero enrichment, especially now, while Israel is attacking them. Israel has a different view. Israel is still determined to stop Iran's nuclear program. They want to destroy the things Iran needs to make nuclear weapons. Israel believes that Iran wants to build nuclear bombs, but Iran says its nuclear program is only for peace. They say they use the nuclear material for things like making electricity in power plants. They say they do not want nuclear weapons. Many people around the world think that Israel has nuclear weapons. Israel does not say if this is true or not. The main problem is this big disagreement. Iran is ready to talk about some limits, but not stop completely. Israel wants to destroy Iran's ability to make any nuclear material that could be used for weapons. This difference is still the most important issue between them. For Iran, having a nuclear program is important for their country. They say it is for science and energy. They feel it is their right to have this technology. They do not think other countries should tell them they cannot have it. This feeling is stronger when they are being attacked. For Israel, the nuclear program in Iran is a big worry. They feel it is a danger to their safety. They are afraid that Iran will make nuclear bombs and use them. They think Iran is not telling the truth about their peaceful plans. They believe Iran is secretly trying to build bombs. So, Iran is open to some talks about limits, but not about stopping completely. Israel wants Iran's program to end. This makes the situation very difficult. It is hard to have talks about nuclear plans when fighting is happening. The future of Iran's nuclear program is still not clear. This problem is a main reason for the conflict. The two sides have very different ideas about what should happen. This makes finding peace very hard. The world is watching these nuclear plans closely. 8. What happens next? The conflict between the two countries continued without stopping. Attacks happened every day and night. Cities and towns faced the danger of missiles and bombs. Air defenses tried to protect places, but some attacks were successful. The fighting was a constant worry for many people living in the region. Life was difficult and dangerous because of the ongoing conflict. During this time of fighting, it was very hard to start peace talks. One country clearly stated that it would not discuss important matters, like its nuclear program, while the other country was attacking it. This strong position made the possibility of any negotiations seem very far away. Diplomats from other countries tried hard to help and find a way for talks to begin again. They met with officials from both sides, but they faced big difficulties. Getting both sides to sit and talk was a very hard job when the fighting was still happening every day. The door to diplomacy seemed closed for now. The fighting had a heavy human cost. Many people were injured by the attacks on buildings and military sites. Homes were damaged, and lives were lost. Reports showed the sad reality on the ground. One report said that 639 people died in the country that faced many attacks. Another report showed that 24 civilians died in the country that launched some attacks. These numbers were a sad sign of how serious the conflict was for the people living there. They showed the price of the ongoing violence. Countries and international organizations all over the world looked at the situation with great worry. Leaders from different nations asked for the fighting to stop right away. Large global bodies like the United Nations made strong calls for peace and calm. They warned everyone involved to be very careful. They said that the conflict could become much bigger and harder to control, like a fire spreading quickly. They stressed the need for calm and asked all sides to choose peace instead of fighting. But despite these many calls for peace, the fighting did not end and the talks did not begin. The situation remained a stalemate. The future was full of important and difficult questions. Would the attacks stop soon? Would the countries find a way to talk about their problems and find a solution? Would the conflict spread to other areas or involve more countries, making the situation even more dangerous? The answers were not known to anyone. The path ahead for the two countries and for the entire region was very uncertain. People hoped strongly for an end to the violence and a start to peace, but the situation was still dangerous and unpredictable, with no clear end in sight.